Good day, mate, and welcome to Australia.
Cars.coza.
So, there's the Isuzu D-Max I have for this trip. We're about to start a trip of 1,000 kilometers up through the Victorian high country. I'm leaving Melbourne now. But first, I'm here at four-wheel drive Supa Centre. It's a King's Adventure. It's a shop, a camping and 4x4ing shop. So first I need a swag. I'm doing it the proper Australian style, getting a swag tent, and then we're going to go on a camping trip up the Victorian high country. So let's see what they have, and then we can hit the road.
So you can obviously shrink it down.
Oh, okay.
It down, and it separates there and folds it up.
Okay, awesome.
To allow you to roll up in it.
And then it comes with this match. Well, this bottom
comes with
mattress.
that bottom mattress.
Yes. Okay, cool. Okay, yeah. And I'll take that one, I guess.
Yep.
Okay, so there we go. We've got a swag, and it just came with a special, so we've got a swag bag as well. And then Matt, who organized me the car, and thank you to Matt and Mike for helping me. But they organized me a ton of camping gear. So in here, you're gonna see there's jerry cans. I actually don't know what's in this. I haven't checked. Probably looks like a repair kit. There's a toolbox over here. Whoa, this floor's slippery. With inside the toolbox, there's a ton of other things. There we go, there's a map, I actually need that. Here's maps, here's food parcels, there is cooking stuff, there's a radio, there's a torch, there's everything I need. Tire, inflation kit, a spade, and outward clothes, and I've got max checks and a camping chair. So yeah, hopefully that's everything I will need for this trip. Now we can start our journey. So let's go. I have to find the maps first, and our first stop is Merrig. I don't know how to pronounce all these names, but yeah, let's go and explore the Victorian high country and see what Australia has to offer, what the landscape really is, and how this Isuzu D-Max handles on this, let's call it a soft overlanding trip, because I won't be carrying all my food for the week with me. But yeah, I've got a week to do 1,000 kilometers. I'm going to be using the small towns and visiting the small towns to replenish my stock and things like that. And let's just go have one awesome adventure. Let me explain this to you, or why I am here. So ever since I was small, I loved Australia, and South Africans in general just have this love for Australia. So I thought, let me come and see myself. So that's why I'm sitting here in Australia. I flew to Melbourne, and now I'm doing a 1,000 kilometer road trip through the Victorian high country. I just wanted to explore the country, see it myself. So I organized an Isuzu from Isuzu Australia, a ute. I have a ute behind me over there, that is the new Isuzu. And tonight I'm camping here at Camp Buttercup. It is about 200 drive from Melbourne. I'll spend the first 2 nights here. I'll explore Mount Beulah, and there's actually snow on the mountain over there. I was not expecting that when I came to Australia. And to make things worse, I stopped at a local shop on the way here to buy some more camping goodies. And I explained the local my situation or my story, why I'm here. And he just tells me, like, you're a brave man. And for an Australian local to tell me that made me a bit nervous. And then to add a cherry on the cake, there's a massive cold front on its way with a lot of downpour and rain coming. So it's going to be an interesting road trip because there's river crossings I need to do, and I'm completely solo in a place where there's no signal, in a country I don't know, in a not very kitted 4x4. It's a stock standard Isuzu D-Max over there. So yeah, it's going to be an interesting trip. We'll have to see how it goes, and I'm just going to take it as it comes. But I'm here, I'm going to enjoy it, I'm going to make the best of it, and I'm going to do this full Australian style. I got a swag, I bought myself a swag, so let's go figure out how that thing works and if I can build it, if I actually have a tent to sleep in or a swag to sleep in tonight. Cool. Good morning. It was night of night 1 or day 2 now. It was a good night. The swag was comfortable. It was warm, it wasn't too bad last night actually, but the weather is still holding out. So a quick change for today, or the plans of today. I'm going to head out to Beulah, Mount Beulah now. It's a nice early start, and then I'm going to go back to Mansfield after I've done exploring Mount Beulah, check the time, and then maybe head straight through to the next location so long, because this weather that's forecasted is going to turn rough. So I want to try and advance a bit on my route before that weather kicks in. And apparently there's a lot of river crossings and things I have to do on my route, entire route. And if the water comes down, the rain comes down, the water's going to be higher, so I won't be able to cross the rivers. So I want to get as far as possible before this rain sets in. But for now, it's a nice early start, so let's get going to the next location. Welcome to one of the many huts Victorian high country has to offer. So this is the Tomahawk hut. It's in the middle of nowhere. I've driven for like 5 to 10 kilometers. It's just bush, and then you have this hut here. So the whole point of the huts they were built long ago for the skiers, the miners, and the forestry to just come and protect themselves from the elements. So if the snow comes down, if the weather turns bad, they have somewhere to shelter for. And nowadays it's being used as campsites, or once again, to just save yourself from the elements. There's a fire pit over there, there's a fireplace in there, there's a nice table over here, so people come and camp here, there's a hiking trail. So you can still use these huts, they are still maintained, which is so awesome, and there's many of them scattered around the Victorian high country. But yeah, amazing places, the scenery is amazing. I wish the camera could capture it all, which I am seeing. I'm trying my best, but it's so much to take in. It is such a unique and beautiful country, this. I briefly went up to Mount Beulah. It seems like everything is closed. It was quite early, and you might need a permit to be there. I'm not sure, but it's very beautiful up there. Beautiful tar road, wiggling its way up the mountain, very steep. It's very narrow, so there isn't much pull-off spots for taking pictures and stuff like that. But I managed to capture some images, and there is a bit of snow on the mountain there. So it is actually a ski resort. There's a massive ski resort at the top there. So yeah, once again, beautiful place. The roads here are pretty rough. I'm trying to keep it safe by taking like safe-ish gravel roads as much as I can figure out. There's no signal. I'm driving a standard Isuzu and I'm alone. So I do not want to drive myself into trouble, as I will be stuck out here. And it's not the most ideal place to be stuck alone. There's very few people out here. Like I said, no signal, so I can't contact someone for help. I have some max tracks, some tow ropes and things in there. But yeah, worst case scenario, I'll need to use them. For now, the weather's good. I drove like a small Jeep track and there were some mud obstacles. The roads here are very narrow, well, so far, which I've found. Very narrow, so when you have oncoming vehicles, you have to like make space for one another. So you travel quite slow in Australia, I have come to realize. So you have to take into account not the distance, but the time it'll take you to get there. So yes, for now, I'm going to go to Mansfield, which is the nearest town, or Merrijig is the nearest town, but I'm going to go to Mansfield. That's like the ski community's like hub, everyone goes there, and then I will determine whether my next stop is to go to the next campsite or to stay here at night. I'm gonna just see my timing. But yeah, let me head to Mansfield, check my timing, go get some lunch, and then see what my plan is for the rest of the day. So here are my new plans. I am now camping just outside the town of Jamieson tonight. I went to Mansfield, I had my lunch there, and then looked on Google Maps, and it's about 173 k's to the next town or to the next camping site where I want to be, to Wandiligong. So I thought, let me just take that on tomorrow. That was my original plan, and then let me explore this area a bit more. And then I found a beautiful scenic lookout point at the top of this hill over here, which overlooks this beautiful big lake. And then you can see the mountain of the snow on Mount Beulah as well before the rain pulled in. And then on my way down, I found this little gravel road, and the curiosity got the better of me. So I decided to turn in, and I drove up this gravel road, and I found little campsites all along this gravel road going up this hill. And it's just a wild camp, I'm assuming, just little campsites, a little fire pit, nothing else, just a wild camp. So then I thought on Google Maps, I found another spot called Granny's Flats on the other side of Jamieson. So I thought, let me just go check that out. The local yesterday did tell me to stay above or stay on high heights because of all the rain coming down. The lakes and the rivers here are all overfull already from the past heavy rains they've had. So when I got to Granny Flats, the road was closed, and I have a feeling that that campsite is on the bank of the river or on a floodplain, which is now flooded. So they closed it due to safety reasons. So luckily I found this place by coincidence. Something told me to come here, and that's probably the reason why. So I turned around, went through the town of Jamieson quickly to see how it is, and then ended up here tonight. So tonight I'll spend the night here. I'll wait for the rain to settle a little bit. If it does, then I'll put up my swag. It's going to be a long rainy night, but it's all part of the adventure. The rain is here. I can't change it. It's out of my control. So I'll just make the best of it. And then tomorrow I will bounce and I'll go to Mansfield, and then from there I will head all the way to Wandiligong, and then the rest of the adventure will continue. So for now, I'm going to sit and wait out the rain for another half an hour, see what it does, build the swag, and then call it a night.
Yeah, so my name's Matt Brogan. I'm a motoring journalist, I'm a seasoned four-wheel driver, and I'm pretty familiar with the Victorian high country as well. So the word ute basically stems from utility vehicle, and Australians quite proudly invented the utility vehicle, or the bakkie as you guys know it, after a letter from a pig farmer's wife, I believe it was, that she wanted a vehicle that the husband could use to transport the pigs, but she could also take to church on Sundays. So Ford cut down a sedan car and put a tray on the back of it, and that was our first ute. So the utes are generally speaking quite heavily kitted out now. It's become a very popular pastime to go four-wheel driving, to go camping, to come and see these areas for what they are, because they really are quite beautiful. But also I think there's a willingness among people to perhaps invest and spend a little bit more in that hobby now, because it's something that can be enjoyed on so many levels. You can come out and just go four-wheel driving for the fun of it. You can bring the whole family up here and go camping for a week at a time. You got no internet, you got no phone calls, you got no television. It's just a chance to sort of detox and get back to nature. As to whether you actually need to go that full on, a lot of that really depends on how far you want to go. There's a lot of camping sites that you can get to in a two-wheel drive vehicle with very few modifications at all. But if you really want to get heavy and deep into the country, you're going to need something a bit more capable. So that's probably why you're seeing so many out here.
Trip update. I am now in the town of Wandiligong. Yes, it is actually a town name, next to the town of Brights, and it is sort of like an alpine ski resort town that are combined. There's ski resorts here. It's very alpine looking. Everything is called alpine. There's big mountain biking facility over here as well, which is very cool. I was wanting to go rent one and go ride, but the weather just made it too bad. I mean, even just parking where I am now, the car just slides in the mud. So I don't even know what the tracks look like out there. But yeah, I'm camping at a caravan/campsite. I think it's a privately owned one. It's $15 a night, which is not bad at all, but it has a warm shower. That was the selling point for me for this campsite. It's just I wanted a warm shower after the last 2-3 days of traveling. I just wanted a warm shower, and it was perfect timing with this cold weather pulling in. So I'm grateful for that. I pulled in here last night, set up my swag, and then the rain came down. So there is a rain warning, a flood warning being sent out, but it seems like it's higher north than where we are, but we still had a lot of rain. It's not a heavy rain, but it's a constant rain, so swag got a little wet. It's like a canvas tent, so just everything you touch on the outside gets a bit damp. So I got a little rain cover, went to the local hardware shop here, got a rain or a top, just a normal top. which I threw over to keep myself dry for tonight. And then tomorrow I head off to Dargo, which will be my second last stop. And that should be a wild camp if I can get there. It seems like that's the most tricky bit, is tomorrow and the next day, which will be, I don't know how the roads look, but it looks very cornery. Don't know if it's tar or gravel. But anyway, today I went and explored Mount Buffalo. It is 1,500 meters above sea level. It's weird, there's the whole Australian Alps. I'm skirting around the Australian Alps, it seems. I just drove on the Great Alpine Road, and this whole area reminds me a lot of Canada. For some other reason I keep thinking I'm in Canada, not Australia. But yeah, explored there. It was very misty. I think we were in the cloud cover the whole time, so I didn't see any of the views, but it was still very pretty, like landscape wise, and it was raining the whole time, but it was fun. So let me answer a question which many people have. Is a lot of people tell me Australia looks like South Africa, and I actually want to disagree. Traveling now for half my amount of time, I've seen pretty much a whole lot, not the whole Australia, but the whole lot of my area, which is the Victorian High Country. Maybe the rest of Australia or different part of Australia is different, but from the area I've seen, I'm getting a lot of European style feeling. The housing, the road signs, how the roads are designed. It's got those little white bollards on the sides of the road everywhere. There's a lot of snow in this area. There's ski resorts everywhere. Currently it's the wettest season in October, and it's wet, rainy and cold, and everyone's walking around with thick jackets, things like that. So the housing style here is very modern but Victorian looking. The cities are also, like I said, it feels like I'm in Canada or in Switzerland or somewhere, because you've got these forests around you with mist, and there's snow in the mountains, and these little chimneys with the smoke billowing out. Yeah, it feels very European to me. But yeah, I haven't seen, like I said, maybe in different part of Australia it looks similar, but for my area it's very much more European than South African. So that is my summary, the difference between South Africa and Australia. Not the difference, just how I feel it. I don't feel as much South African at all, but it is still an amazingly beautiful country. Also, another interesting fact is Australia is 535 times bigger than South Africa, but they have 20 million residents, whereby South Africa has 52, even more by now, million inhabitants, population. So yeah, that's about it. One more night over here. Hopefully the rain stays away, and then tomorrow I head off to Dargo, so we'll see how that road goes. But for now, I'm gonna try and get some rest. Last night's rain kept me awake a bit. But yeah, let's see how tomorrow goes.
The high country, as we know it, after European settlement, in the earlier times it was the land of the Kurnai people. There's still a lot of rock art and artifacts and a lot of history up here from those times. But after European settlement, there was a lot of search for gold in particular and other minerals. Yeah, so much of it was government sanctioned to send people into the hills looking for minerals, but also to look for pasture land and for farming land. And a lot of it here in the Gippsland area. We have a lot of farming land, and of course, you know, most of that was either coming people over the hills from Sydney way, or coming by water up from Sale down to the south of us. So that there was that mix of pastoral and mining that sort of took over into this area. A lot of the huts that you would have seen on your travels were from when cattlemen used to graze cattle up here, and those huts were a form of shelter when the weather turned a bit wild. You know, all of our social values have changed a little bit since those times. So there's no longer any grazing in the high country, because there was a concern that, you know, grazing cattle there was ruining the local environment, the local fauna, and just getting a lot of mud and a lot of cow poo into the waterways. So that's been really pared back, and now there's a really big emphasis on the natural value of the place and enjoying it for what it is.
So it's very misty outside, so much so that my lane keep assist isn't working, because the cameras, I guess, over here can't see far enough ahead to see where the lanes are. I can barely see where they are. The camera can see more than I can see. Yeah, interesting view of Australia I'm having. Today was quite the day. Today is the first time I actually experienced the true Australia which I wanted to experience. So that is, I drove 90% of my day, I drove trials, tracks as they call it here. So it's just up into the mountains, up and down, zigzag. There's a few of the roads that are closed. A lot of mosquitoes here. There's a few of the roads that were closed, but I found my way through. It's actually quite nerve-wracking. I spent most of the day driving, let's say 5-6 hours driving, and I drove past 3 motocross guys that were in a group that came past me, and that's it. Other than that, I was out on the track the whole time by myself, but it was beautiful landscape. When the mist cleared out, it was beautiful landscape. Just forest and trees everywhere. Quite steep gradients. I mean, it's cliffs if you go down. Did a few water crossings, some nice mud, and yeah, it was a bit nerve-wracking being alone there, like out in the middle of nowhere. There's no one around me, no one to contact, there's no signal, but it was fun. And then the water crossings, and there were a few landslides, and the one looked very fresh, so I just wanted to get out of there as quick as possible. So my plans have changed a little. I was supposed to stay at the Italian Flats, which is just 50 kilometers up the road, but I thought I have to be tomorrow. I'm going to Walhalla. I'm going to meet the mayor there and have some chat with the people, and they're going to show me the town and the history of the town and things like that. So I thought I'll come push through as much as I can today. So I drove another extra 50 kilometers. I'm now here at Mitchell's Nature Reserve, something of that sort, and they're going to be camping here tonight briefly, and then tomorrow I'll have a shorter distance to drive to Walhalla, and then more time to spend there and explore there. So swag is up, cars here, swag is up. Now I'm just going to put my rain sheet down because it looks like there is more rain coming again. Then I'm going to call it a night, and then tomorrow we will explore the town of Walhalla. I think that's how you pronounce it. Oh well.
There's a lot of tracks out in the forest. A lot of them are to get fire trucks into the area to try and stop fires before they take hold and get into property or into farmland. So you'll find a lot of them are also married up to where there's some water points, so the trucks can get in, fill the tanks to put out the fires. There's also a lot of roads left over from those times when people were in here with cattle. You know, they obviously needed to get the cattle out to market. So you'll see some very early roads, particularly the shelf roads that are cut into the side of the hills, that were all done by hand. You know, pick and shovel, horses, that sort of thing. And some of them are very old. In fact, there's a road just east of here that's actually Australia's oldest gazetted highway that runs through the Alps. And again, that was all cut by hand in rock. And funnily enough, even though it's our oldest gazetted highway, it's also the last one to be paved. So it's one of the very last roads to be paved with bitumen in 2014.
So my name's Michael Leaney and I'm the proprietor of the Star Hotel in Walhalla. So Walhalla was a gold mining town. Gold was first discovered here in late 1862 and it quickly became one of the wealthiest gold mining towns in Australia, with over 72 tonnes of gold being removed from this valley. It was very remote and it meant that access was always very difficult to it. And even though it was a difficult location to get to, there was about 5,000 people living in Walhalla and district during the height of the gold era. So the gold era ran for about 50 years, with the mines closing around 1914. And when the mines closed, the town was essentially abandoned. There was no work for people here, so they literally packed up the houses and took them away. As luck would have it, the town had been lobbying for years to get the railway to arrive, and that railway was finally built and arrived in Walhalla in 1910. So the railway that was meant to bring prosperity to the town actually provided the opportunity to remove all the township by literally packing up the houses, putting them on the train and removing them. So Walhalla then became a ghost town, and it wasn't until, I suppose, the mid-1980s and 1990s that, with a much greater appreciation of Australia's heritage and the gold era heritage, people started restoring buildings and looking after the town. So for essentially 70 years, not much happened in Walhalla, hence why Walhalla is such a beautiful location today that keeps that gold era streetscape.
So I just finished my visit here at Walhalla. It's just across the road, like 11 kilometers from here. I'm on my way back to Melbourne now, so this is the end of the journey. Michael would have told you a lot about Walhalla. It's a beautiful, historical, rich gold mining town, or used to be. It's now a hidden gem inside this valley. You don't know about it, and then you drive up the valley, and here you see this tiny little town nestled away in the valley. I can highly recommend this spot as well to come and visit. It is a beautiful town, lots of history, gold mines, all the history about it. A very, very historic town. But yeah, car was comfortable. I averaged about 9.8 liters per 100 kilometers and over a distance of 1,500 kilometers. I ended up doing, not 1,000. So yeah, good average. It's a lot of hills, ascents and descents, so the engine does work a bit harder. It's not flat driving at all, and it is slower driving. But it did everything it had to do. It has a lot of packing space inside. I could carry all my gear. I'm a solo traveler, so I've got a lot of room in here. One complaint I do have is the tray system in the back. The load bin has got plastic on the inside, which is very slippery. So when you open it, if you're in the incline and you open it, everything comes sliding out, or you want to put something in and it just doesn't want to stay back, it just slides out. But it has protection in there, so it protects the actual load bin. The plastic will get damaged, not the thing. And then I'm not going to give you pricing or specs and things about this Isuzu. This is the 3-litre Isuzu I was driving. You'll be able to find full specs and details on our site at Cars.Koza. I'll link in the description the car we used, and the pricing, it's Australian dollar here. I'm not going to give you pricing on that. And then before I continue, I just want to say a big thank you to everyone who helped me on this trip and everyone I met on this trip as well. Thank you to Matt, to Cars.Koza, to Michael from Walhalla, and to Isuzu Ute Australia, and then everyone else that I missed and that I met along the way. It has been an amazing trip, a bucket list opportunity and memory of mine is to travel Australia, and now I have done it. I've only touched, made a dot on the map of Australia. Australia is gigantic. It's 535 times bigger than South Africa. However, it has half the population, if not less, than South Africa. So it's 5 times bigger, and it only has about 20 to 30 million people living here. So you feel very isolated out here. You're always on your own. You will drive for 100 and 200 Ks without running into anybody. So when you're out in the bush especially, be cautious, be safe. If you want to do something like this, be prepared. Matt packed me a ton of camping gear and recovery gear in the back, and initially I thought to myself, that's a bit overkill, I would say. There's max tracks, there's recovery ropes, snatch ropes, you name it, all in the back of this ute. But doing this trip now and standing here, I'm thankful that I never had to use that. I actually am unprepared. There's a lot of deadfall, like I said earlier, so a chainsaw is generally something people carry along. On the train ride I had earlier, they actually had a chainsaw on the train because of deadfall that comes across the tracks. So it is an actual serious issue you can come across. River crossings are deep, and do not underestimate them, walk them. And if you walk them, tie yourself down, because there is logs that will come down the river with the deadfall as well. The mud is deep and mushy. I did end up being here in the wettest season they've ever had in 160 years, so it is a lot more wet and damp and moisture and soaky muddy grounds than usual. But they do have winters here, like Michael said. There's a lot of snowfall here as well, so in winter you need snow chains, chainsaw for the trees. Max tracks, they generally have 4 with them. You see all the cars here have got max tracks on the roofs. They all run mud terrains. I'm running all terrains, which is more road bias, so luckily I didn't have to use the max tracks. But I still had an awesome time out here. It was amazing to see. You can't explain the size and the scale of this country unless you are here. I hope this video does it a bit of justice, and me trying to explain it, but you have to be in this country to experience it. It is isolated, so alone travel or solo traveling, I would not recommend. I did it, but I took the safe roads. I tried to hit tar roads, I tried to hit sort of tracks that I guessed were good, and then if I saw obstacle I would stop, check it out before I just went into it. Where I'm standing now is a track I almost came down, and there's a big river crossing here. Might have been doable, but would have been risky. It's about this high water. Let's see, yep, about this high water. So alone I would not have attempted it. In a convoy maybe. Generally it's better to travel in convoy, especially driving the tracks here. Know the area. If you don't know the area at all, go where you know it is tarred and things like that. You travel slow in Australia, the roads are narrow and things like that. But yeah, still an awesome experience. Once again, thank you to everyone who helped me be here today. And I hope you guys enjoyed this journey through Australia. I hope to see you guys in South Africa or somewhere else on another journey soon. Cheers.
I think if I was to give one piece of advice to people who are coming here and trying some four-wheel driving for the first time, it's just take it easy. You know, do things at your own pace. Don't be tempted to rush, because the landscape can change very quickly and the weather can change very quickly. So you might have a road that you're quite comfortable on, you know, one day, and you'll drive back it on the next, and there might have been quite a bit of rain overnight. It's washed away, it's eroded, it's very slippery. And as we said before, some of these shelf roads are very unforgiving. It's a long drop on one side. So take your time. If you haven't done a four-wheel drive course, or you're not an experienced four-wheel driver, perhaps think about doing something like that before you come over. And depending on what time of year, just be really cognizant that there can be road closures. A lot of the roads up here are closed seasonally to prevent damage. And that's so that in the summer months, when we do need to get the fire trucks in there, they're not all chewed up and chopped up, so that we can get some bigger trucks in there to fight fires. So there are some closed roads, and it's also very advisable to keep track of the weather and the fire danger for the period, because fires can move very fast up here, and if you were to light a campfire on the wrong day, yeah, you might find yourself in the middle of something you can't get out of.
I'd add that quite often people think of Australia as being a place that's brown, it's flat and it's desert. Well, that's not the case here at all. We have a massive amount of mountains in Australia. We're on the southern edge of the Victorian Alps, and to come and see a different environment is really something of interest. We're only 2 hours basically from the coast. So in this part of Victoria, you can be in the mountains, have a really unique experience with the mountains and the beautiful tall forests, etc. And then in 2 hours be on the beach. So there is that variety I think is really important, and I think people are blown away when they actually see the mountains and how rugged it is, and so close into a major capital city like Melbourne. It's something really different. So I'd encourage people not just to think of Australia as being the big outback, but the green outback, which is what we have here in the Alps. And of course, we have snow. So if you're coming here in winter, you get the experience to see the snow, and in the Alps. I mean, there's more snow in Australia than there is in Switzerland, believe it or not. Directly across the road from the hotel here is the start of the Australian Alps walking track, which is 680 kilometre walk from Walhalla to Canberra. In between here, you'll only go through 2 towns. So you have to be prepared to do that walk. It is an extreme hike, but that entire walk during winter is pretty much under snow. So 680 kilometres of walking under snow. And people don't think of that. The scale of Australia is huge. So the southeast corner, we could fit Switzerland in a few times.
Are you busy trying to decide between 2 cars, 3 cars, 4 cars, 5 cars, 6 cars, and getting absolutely lost in all of the specs and all of the different pricing? Well, we have an excellent compare tool on our main website and in our app for you to use. It's very detailed, it's very slick and quick and efficient, and I highly recommend it. I use it all the time when I'm doing research for our car shoots. So check it out. We'll put the link in the description below, and tell us what you think. Tell us if it helped you out.